everybody. Apologize for the delay. Unfortunately, this is a country club attitude here in Miami. This is not Blind Forest land. I swear to God, I messaged these two bums and said, "You're on time. You're early. You're on time. You're on time. You're late. You're late. Get the F out of here." And these two bums, they're off my team. They can go play for Mike McDaniel.
No.
With Flo.
You got to wait till next year to punish us for it.
Hi, everyone.
No kidding.
Welcome to FinStanza Overtime. It's been a while. We've all been busy, but it's draft season. We know you missed us. We know you missed a reality check. What's been happening in Dolphins land? I wonder what. We're here to give you that dose of reality. You might be excited about the Miami Dolphins. We're going to bring you back down to earth. Greg, how you both doing?
Considering things at life, I'm actually good. I'm great. I'm fantastic.
Greg, how you been?
I've been good. It's been an interesting 3 or 4 weeks since we've been together. Just work and work and like more work. But I did get to go see my grandkids. I did go to California with my grandkids, hang out at the beach. Went to Universal Studios out there. I saw my granddaughter up in Boston yesterday, so it's been a pretty good family type situation as well. So can't complain too much.
For those who are wondering why am I wearing these clashing colors, is because you see this logo here. This logo here is what's been bringing me sadness. This logo is what's been bringing me happiness. This is the logo of the Montreal Canadiens. Let me tell you a quick little story how these two things interject. This team went to a Stanley Cup final, which is the championship in hockey during the COVID year, where they weren't good, but somehow they made it because of the new structure. Then they decided, you want to know what? Our team is getting old. We're going to tear it down. Rebuilds in hockey, as Greg knows, because he's a big Blackhawks fan, take years. They were not expected to do anything in their third year. We're on the verge of making the playoffs. Young talent, no older players. They have a balanced attack. A young coach who knew what he was doing, who actually played the sport. A general manager who's actually been successful in other places. An owner that actually spends money wisely. Wait. So, I'm enjoying this. Plus, I've been a little busy with tariffs. You know those things that your country is driving, can't decide if they want, if they don't want. By the way, isn't it interesting? They tax the poor Penguins. Next, they're going to tax the Dolphins. I don't understand. I must tell you, I've been living through tariff hell. Luckily, things are settling a little bit, but you never know.
No,
it's been crazy. It's been crazy. My life.
Yeah, I was on a presentation today, and the company was like, "Your tariff number went up," and I'm like, "Yeah, no shit." I was like, "You think?"
Yeah. Anyways, so guys, let's just talk about what we have a lot to talk about. We're going to talk about the Miami Dolphins and how the draft season is going to be coming up in less than almost 2.5 weeks to the day. You'll be seeing our beautiful faces on draft covers throughout the weekend, where we're going to give you that nice dose of reality. We're going to be the calm, cool, collected ones, unlike last year where I was all happy, excited. Not this year. We're going to talk about the draft. We're going to talk about the Dolphins. We're going to talk about Mike McDaniel talking out of both sides of his mouth. Where's Chris Greer? Where in the world is he? We haven't seen him since that press conference. Where's he hiding? But let's talk about what's the burning question about. I got pulled onto a show when I did FinFaithful a couple weeks ago. Good old Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill yesterday in my neck of the woods of Sunny Isles, Florida. Too bad Rob Mosley, Dolphins Thirsty, is no longer a police officer there because he can give us a little more of the scoop. But he has still friends in the police department that we could probably ask. In his condo, maybe because his house hasn't been rebuilt since his child set a fire to it, he was there with his wife, his baby, and his mother-in-law. And the guy had a little bit of a tantrum. What a surprise. Broke a laptop, grabbed the kid off his wife's shoulder, bruised her, and hung her over brought the baby onto the balcony. Where, for some reason, on ABC News, they have a picture, a live video of someone who has a camera 35 stories high. Unbelievable why somebody would have that. That's a little freaky. That's another story. But Tyreek Hill is in the news again, not for a very good reason. Verbal abuse. No arrests were made. But once again, the Dolphins are in the news. They love being in the news, but for the wrong reasons. Mm-hmm. Unbelievable. What do you guys think about that? I've talked about how they can't trade him. The team is built around him. If they trade him, There's going to be, we all know the debt cap, what could possibly happen if they trade him before. If they trade him post, it's still savings, but then you have the cap issues next year. If you release him, forget about it. You're paying to a salary times 2. It's unbelievable. But let me both get your feedback on, once again, there's a Tyreek Hill situation, a cultural issue. Just a side note, Mike McDaniel wanted him to be wanted people to vote him to be a captain, wink, wink, at the owners' meetings. So let me both get your feedback on the whole Tyreek Hill situation, what your thoughts are on that, so we can put that to bed and start talking about important things. But the fact that it's in the news for a very bad reason, the Dolphins put out a stupid statement like they always do, never get in front of it, nothing. They just do the same stupid things they always do. What are your thoughts when you heard this story?
Here we go again, as usual. I mean, like, so whenever these situations happen, like if it's still an established team, like if this happened when he was in Kansas City wouldn't even feel it. Yeah, sure, they would be like, oh yeah, we got to find, someone else to replace his spot. And yeah, Tyreek's a great player, but like, I wouldn't, as a coach, general manager, I wouldn't stand for it. Be gone. The speeding ticket, the argument with police, even though I know the police were a little out of pocket on that one, whatever. But it always seems like something with him, and I know he's getting frustrated. I know he's getting tired of the thing in Miami. I think they put a lot of pressure on him to come in here and be the face and be the positive and the rah-rah and to build up the confidence of the fan base. And they've rode Tyreek, and whether people agree or not, even though Tyreek wasn't getting the ball like he normally would, Tyreek was basically running wind sprints for fun all season. And he was the reason that everything else was opening up. There is no Jonnu Smith breakout season without what Tyreek was doing. So it sucks. And I think the Dolphins will feel it, but they're going to have to trade him. And this is just one of the things that a team who's not prepared for any of this with zero leadership has no idea how to like take care of this, and they're going to feel this. So if they end up trading them, they'll have no answer and not be prepared, and it's going to just spiral. Everything's already starting to spiral. It started last year at the beginning of the season, like when Tyreek got arrested. Everything started at the beginning of the year, and everything started spiraling, and it's slowly. But this year, it's just going to really feel the effects. This is just the first big thing that's happened, and it's just going to get worse and worse as the time goes on.
Greg?
No, I mean, he's been doing this for 10 years. All right. In some form or fashion, he's been getting in trouble since college. All right. It's the reason he slid in the draft was because of character issues and things like this.
And why he bouncing? Didn't he go to 2 different colleges too? Or 3?
I believe so. Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah.
So it's not surprising. It's who he is. All right. You put up with it when your team is challenging for a Super Bowl or a championship or something like that. All right. You put up with it because you want to win. My question is what are the Dolphins going to win this year? All right.
The number 1 pick?
Well, yeah.
The draft lottery?
If you were going to win the division, if you were going to have home playoff games, if you were going to have a chance to go to the AFC Championship game, all right, fine, put up with it. All right, he's a jerk. You've always known he's a jerk. He was a jerk when you signed him, okay? Yeah. But the Dolphins aren't that close. They're not that close. They're going to be rebuilding again, okay? You don't rebuild with 30-plus-year-old wide receivers, even though he's really good.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, no, you're right.
And at some point, you're going to cut bait. So cut bait with him a year early. All right?
Should have done it last year.
They could have done it last year. They gave him a guaranteed contract. They wouldn't be dealing with it. They gave Ramsey money. They gave Tua money.
Yeah, this is where they fight themselves.
For no reason whatsoever.
And here's the thing. They could trade Hill, like Greg's saying, and they still have Waddle. Yeah, Waddle's not a number 1 wide receiver.
Waddle doesn't want to be a 1.
Right, but you still have some weapons. However, this team is just they don't have a direction. Sorry, I mean cut you off, Greg.
No, go ahead. No, they don't, and you're 100% right, and it's just the lack of leadership and the lack of a strong personality shows up in different ways throughout the year, and this is just another one. All right. I mean, there's a video on Twitter that was going around, and I threw it to you guys with Rabel, addressing his team up in the locker room, right?
Mm-hmm.
He wouldn't put up with this.
No.
There were some rules went out yesterday.
Yeah,
Very strict with his rules.
If they trade him post June 1st, it'd be 14.97 saved, but they'll have 12.7 dead cap and 15.5 dead cap at 26, according to Spot Rat.
Get rid of him now, though.
Yeah, just trade him post June 1st.
Well, I don't care if it's even post June 1st. Just trade him. Just get rid of him now. Take a $50 million hit this year. Why do you want to keep saddling yourself with hits into the future?
Would you do it at the draft and get some picks for this year, or would you wait till post June 1st and basically get nothing for him until you don't have anything for 2026? Because I just want to read this to you. These are the available free agents and ages where they rank in terms of best players available at wide receiver, because the Dolphins have done nothing. If they trade him, they go draft someone. But if they want to go get a live free agent with outside the trade, Keenan Allen turning 33, Amari Cooper turning 31, Deontay Johnson turning 29, Tyler Lockett turning 33, Robert Woods 33, Nelson Aguilar 32, DJ Chalk turning 29. Then you have Tyler Boyd almost over 30, Elijah Moore turning 25. And we keep going, but is there anyone there who you would bring in to balance with Waddle that you can go sign?
No.
And here's the thing. Imagine if they took Brian Thomas last year. All right, see you, Hill.
No.
Well, again, where are you as a team? Are you competing now, or are you competing in 2 years? If you're competing in 2 years, don't sign somebody 30. All right.
Well, they've been good with that this year. They're free agents. They haven't signed anyone over 30.
Well, I know, but because that, in my mind, that's signaling, hey, we're building for something other than this year. So continue doing it.
Hey, you leave Jelly Roll out of this, DS Global.
Yeah. Well, Tua was there. And by the way, they were booing Tua when he came on stage. They were booing him.
I'm a huge Jelly Roll fan, and his song Wheels Fall Off from years ago is a perfect song to summarize this season coming up.
But so when it comes to Tyreek Hill, the whole thing about trading him, as I think you have to trade him, the question is, with all the issues he's going through, he has the court cases, he has divorce, who in their right mind wants to take that on now? What team do you have? You actually see a team that's, and if you think that they were to be able to trade him, what's the most you can get for him? If Deebo Samuel got a 5th rounder, if DK Metcalf got a couple middle-round draft picks, what are you getting for Tyreek Hill?
Somebody would, on draft day, I think somebody would trade maybe a third at most. I think what you'll get is day 3 this year and a day 2 next year. That
would you be running to the point? Would you make that trade in a heartbeat if someone offered you a 3rd and a 5th or a 2nd and a 6th?
Yeah.
Sure?
Oh yeah.
But let me ask you: are they taking a major? But let me ask you: can they? Oh, here's a crazy question. While we talk about Tyreek, can the team? I'm not talking about who's running the team. I'm talking about coaching, personnel-wise. Can this team be equal or better if he's not on the team? Any chance?
No.
Can they actually be? So they're basically, if they trade him, doesn't somebody like a Chris Greer and Mike McDaniel basically say, my job is basically I have no shot at keeping my job? Or do you think they have it? They have Ross's wink, wink, that if you trade him, I want him gone. I'm still giving you guys another year after that because whatever. Because Ross had to be the one in the end and Brandon Short to be the one to be willing to give them that money. Whether Greer did it or McDaniel wanted it or not, in the end, Ross wrote the check. Ross gave him the bonus. So my question is, why would they, in their right mind, make their team worse when Ross basically said, if they don't do better next year, there's going to be major changes unless they know something we don't? What do you think about that?
I don't know that because if you keep Tyreek, it makes it look like, oh, we're trying to save face. We're trying to we're trying to save our season or we're trying to save our jobs. And it's just at what cost?
We know he's not right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it really becomes this question and people start questioning your leadership. I don't know. I think it's probably in the best interest of the team. And Chris Greer and Mike McDaniel for their future in the league to just go ahead and trade Tyreek, because I think it at least shows you, hey, we're not going to tolerate it. He was the one late all the time last year. Enough's enough. Gone. And I hate to say it, Tyreek has done a lot for this team on the field. It's just off the field shenanigans and stuff. It's like, enough's enough. He's got to go, and you got to trade him. You got to set the example.
The offense runs through him. All right, the offense is basically designed to get him open. All right, for two of the complete passes. All right, he'd be a big loss. You're not replacing him with Washington. All right,
you're not replacing him with Westbrook-Ikhine. You're not replacing him.
Yeah, you're not. All right. I mean, he was the number one player in the league, voted by his peers 18 months ago. Okay,
I'm about to jump. We're not getting to the draft yet, but I'm only asking something. They trade him. They don't get picked for this year. Can the team be equal with McMillan over Hill?
No.
So McMillan does not make the team, does not salvage losing Tyreek Hill at all in your mind.
No.
So at 13, Will Hill is gone. McMillan's sitting there on the draft board. You don't touch him? If he's a BPA?
I'm sorry. You're talking.
I'm not thinking about Victoria McMillan from Arizona. If he's there at 13, and you have the ability to trade Hill.
Yeah, you take him.
And you can get McMillan. Does that not give you? Doesn't that make our team doesn't that give you a breath of fresh air as a Miami Dolphins fan?
That gives you a breath of fresh air. Yes.
Okay, we'll get back to it after. I just want to ask that question.
Yeah.
Well, you have to. That would be what good teams would do.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, yeah.
No, okay, so we'll get to that in a minute. So, in terms of the overall concept, doesn't a lot of what happened with Tyreek, I'll put it this way, and the answer to this yes or no, I think it is. You said about Vrabel. If you had a Brian Flores here right now, none of this stuff happens with Hill. None of it. Or that he would have been traded year one, because it would have been a Minkah Minkah Fitzpatrick didn't want to play a position Brian Flores wanted him to play. They traded him, right? So I as much as this is on Tyreek Hill and it's his outside life, this is just for me a cultural issue with the Dolphins. And then people talked about how Teron Armstead and Calais Campbell, I'm convinced, and you guys may not agree, one retired and one went to sign with Arizona because they knew what kind of a crap shit they were dealing with in Miami. Remember, Reggie McKenzie was interviewed for the Tennessee Titans job. They told you, no, thank you. Then he took the same job he has here to go there, to go pick first in the draft because he goes, I don't want to be here. Yeah. I believe it's a pure cultural issue. Teron Armstead would not be retiring if this team made the playoffs last year and they were on an upswing. If they made the playoffs last year and were on an upswing, Calais Campbell would have resigned at the end of the year. This all stems from Mike McDaniel, who you think I'm very hard on, but he is tied to Chris Greer the same way Tua is a buffoon for constantly getting injured. Those three morons together, who Curly, Larry, and Mo, are the reason why this team is where they are and why there are cultural issues. So yes, Tyreek Hill is a pain in our butt, but a lot of what his actions are is there's no accountability from the team. He has faced no consequences. Think about this: if this was Brian Flores' team, or Bill Belichick's team, or Mike Vrabel's team, or Pete Carroll's team, I'll even take a laid-back coach like him. Do you think that after he got arrested for speeding and being late and God knows what, he wouldn't have played that game? But Mike McDaniel put him in the lineup because he wanted to win a football game. He doesn't care. Mike McDaniel does not. He'll keep injured players out for as long as they need because he doesn't want to get injured. But he doesn't care if someone gets arrested. He couldn't care less. He doesn't care if somebody does things in his personal life. He couldn't care less. He separates the two, which is fine. But there's no accountability. There's no sense of character when you want to sign character players. Look at the Eagles. The Eagles. You don't hear any of these players causing problems. None of them. They look like this. The ads are crazy, but they don't cause problems.
Well, they have had players cause problems.
Yeah,
it's just
Jalen Carter, but Jalen Carter hasn't caused a problem since he was signed there.
No, yeah, but they handle it. They build leadership too. and we don't have leadership. Like, honestly, under Flores, under anybody, it happened under Andy Reid, who's one of the best leaders in the
Of course, we're
NFL,
presumed innocent. I'm up for
and
it.
it happened under him. Tyreek is Tyreek. And it happened like Ray Rice situation happened in Baltimore under great leadership. So you can't control these
No,
guys
you
to go off the
can't.
field.
You can't.
However, you do build a safe zone where maybe you get them to kind of change and give them a reason to want to
Give them
change.
the help they need.
But the ones who don't, like I said, that's why I started out with these guys. Like what I was saying is like, how can I word it? Good teams like this doesn't affect them because they have the leadership and they already have pieces in place where it's like, okay, you know what? We know like the Chiefs. Let's use them an example. It didn't hurt them losing Tyreek. Why? Because they had other weapons and they knew, okay, you know what? We're not going to resign him. We're not going to be able to pay him the money he wants, and we know his antics, and we know it's not worth it. But they would know, like, hey, even with his antics, we already have guys on the roster that could take his spot, that we can, kind of duplicate what he did or a shift. So, like, you know what I mean? Like, so good teams understand, like, oh, we can get rid of a guy. Now, yeah, there are guys where it's hard to get rid of, but you have to cut bait with. However, it's like you still have that good leadership. A good team knows how to build that core where it's like, you know what, that one guy, while it's going to hurt, we can shift focus and still win without. So, but like you're talking about McMillan at 13 or whatever. A good team would find a good receiver in like the second round in this draft, which there are probably going to be a handful of good receivers in the second round that I would actually target if we traded Hill.
Yes, he was.
That's what I mean. Like, but
they handle it.
But Andy Reid's not going to take it. Like if it keeps happening, Andy Reid's going to get rid of him. Like, he will. Andy
when
Reid.
Have you heard of Rashid Rice? Have you heard anything about Rashid Rice?
Yeah, and then what was the other kid in Philly? He had a lot of problems with. I can't remember, but Andy Reid will just move on from him. He will cut bait. Not Deshaun Jackson. Deshaun Jackson really turned it around under Andy Reid. He looked at Andy Reid as a father. But like
Terrell Owens.
Oh yeah, he jettisoned. He had no problem trading Owens. So.
No, I mean, look, Andy Reid will give you a shot. Okay, mm-hmm. You screwed up. I'll give you a shot. You keep screwing up, you're gonna leave. Okay.
Yep.
And let's not. Kansas City did not get better by getting rid of on offense by getting rid of Tyreek Hill. Okay. No. But they had a good enough culture, and they were good enough behind him to make it work. All right, and they had
Freddie
another.
Mitchell? Was it Freddie Mitchell?
What's that?
And why?
Wasn't it Freddie Mitchell? I thought it was Freddie Mitchell. Maybe it was.
Freddie Mitchell was one of them. Yeah.
Well, go ahead. Sorry, Greg.
I was going to say, but they had another superstar on offense in Kelsey. Okay, who could pass catch, who could draw attention. That takes pressure off of everybody else. The issue in Miami, all right, and Tyreek Hill, as good as he was still third fiddle basically on offense. He comes here, he's number one, he plays like a number one, all right, and his leaving Miami's offense is going to have a much bigger impact than what it did for Kansas City. That's so. Even if we get McMillan or something like that, the offense is still not going to be as good. We don't have the players in place to compensate for him leaving like Kansas City did.
And I like Jonnu Smith. I really like what he's done. I really like how they used him. I like his ability. So I think you have Waddle, all good weapons, all can create mismatches and be a problem. But, I mean, do we have the quarterback for that? We'll see. But, like, we have, like, weapons-wise, though, you don't have the weapons to make up for it, or you don't have the quarterback to make up for the weapons, if that makes sense. Because even without Kelsey, like, the Chiefs' offense can still run. If you think about anybody wants to think of it this way, Stephon Diggs and the Bills. Remember, everybody was saying, oh, the Bills, it's their season. They're going to fall apart, this and that, blah, blah, blah. The Bills went on to have one of their best seasons. Why? Because they had a fantastic quarterback. They had a fantastic culture. The one who was poisoning the culture, Stephon Diggs, for whatever reason was happening there. It just that marriage came to an end, and it happens. He won it out, and it was time for a new start for him. And he did. He got a new start. And then Josh Allen and them just kept clicking. And it's the thing. It's like Greg said. It's just another example of having a good structure. The Ravens, this kind of stuff, they will move on, and they have a good structure in place to move on. The Steelers, they have a good structure in place to move on.
Just
Like
no
the
quarterback.
Steelers,
No quarterback.
well, yeah, but the Steelers,
And they want their coach fired. Did you see the guy? We never spoke. You know the guy with the billboard? The guy put
Yeah.
a billboard outside the stadium. Fire Tom. I go,
that's because they have standards. They
by
have
the way,
standards.
if they
That-
fire Tom, by the
winning
way,
seasons isn't enough for them.
by the way, how long's the drive from Delaware to Pennsylvania to Pittsburgh?
Pittsburgh's like 4 hours or
I was
so.
gonna say, that's-
Four.
Hey, you know I pay your full tank of gas to go pick up Tomlin, eh?
Dude, I'd
Yeah,
be all
absolutely.
over it. I'd be all over Tomlin because he's that no nonsense coach.
They would fire someone would fire somebody like that day to go get him. They wouldn't even interview him.
Have you guys seen Tomlin on the sideline coaching up a player? He's not just saying, "Oh, it's okay, get him next time, Tiger." No, he's like coaching him up, like, "Hey, it happens. Pick your head up, move on. It's all right. Don't worry about it." Then he'll rip a guy who needs to be ripped. He is exactly what a player's coach should be. And I would take him to heartbeat. And their fans have standards of winning and not winning seasons. They want to win playoff games. They want to go into deep into playoffs. They're like, that's what I've been pushing for us to be like, not just winning seasons. I don't care about winning seasons if
winning
it's
for a
no
long
playoff.
time.
Yeah, keep the winning going. Keep like, okay, you won a couple now, and like if the first 2 seasons were wins, one and done, and then it was like playoff success, yeah, it's fine. You're building onto it, but it's just so. But anyway, to stay on topic though, like our team doesn't have the culture, doesn't have the strength, doesn't have the core, and it's also that's on Greer for how he built this team. This is why he built it as a house of cards. This is why it's a house of cards, because like he went after these superstars to it helped take the level of the roster up, but you remove Tyreek and your offense comes back way down. You remove Chubb and the defense at least stayed afloat. At least his defenses weren't terrible, but still defenses aren't great. Like there's, so if you were to remove Jalen Ramsey from the defense wouldn't be as good. But it's a lot easier to hide a defense than it is to hide flaws on offense.
Before Greg goes, because you're a handy person, the best thing I just thought of, because you're a handy person, Greer built the frame of the house before he built the foundation of the house. So he decided to put the foundation up, but forgot to build the foundation. And he looked down and go, "Wait, there's a hole down there. I have to fill it. I have to fill the hole before I put the frame up." It's exactly what he did. He built the house before he built the foundation of the house.
It was all panic.
Yeah,
it was all panic because he missed out on talent. And then he goes back and everybody looks at him as this genius. Well, anybody can look at an NFL roster and find superstars, but, he can't find superstars in the draft. And I don't want to hear every GM misses, not at the level he misses. And his hits are all average players that are just run-of-the-mill players. And sure, you need those on your team, but,
Anthony, before Greg goes, Anthony, maybe a little later. We just haven't been on a show in a month, and we have so much to get to. We're not even past our first topic, but we'll bring you up a little later. So, Greg, go ahead.
I was going to say that it's, I love it when I hear, well, he drafted a starter or he drafts starters. Well, yeah, no kidding. So you're going to say, the worst quarterback in the league who's starting on a football team is equivalent to the best one, right? Because they're both starters. That's the part that's always gotten me about Greer. Well, he drafts starters. Well, every GM drafts starters. You can't fill your whole damn team without, draft picks.
Yeah.
That's the part that drives me nuts.
Liam Eichenberg. If your standard is starters, Liam Eichenberg, and it just destroys that argument.
We never talked about that. Okay. So let's talk. So let's just talk about that for a minute. When you got the I swear I called Bobby. He was at Chuck E. Cheese with his kids. And I go, "You're not going to believe it." And he started going all these things that took him. He didn't hit him. And I go, because no one thought. We thought a pig might fly. We thought that maybe I might get hit. I don't know. I'd be struck by lightning. But what in God's name was Liam Eichenberg thinking? And what in God's name were the Miami Dolphins thinking? Because shockingly enough, the fan base, which is all about rah, 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 most of the fan base wants Tyreek gone. They're sick of it. But also,
they're mad at him for on the field for dropping the ball, causing interceptions and stuff.
But they're also tired of him. They're willing to move on from him. But at the same time, no fan base lost it more, and no media crew, even all the media, was like, "What? This has to be fake news." So when you both saw that Eichenberg was resigned, and then we were all nervous. They didn't bring out the contract for a week, and it ended up being only it was a minimal contract. But when you saw that, you're going to yourself, they're never going to learn. Think about it. They let Van Ginkel go, who you could have gotten for 11, 12 million. Wilkins, they could have signed earlier, and maybe it would have costed 20 and whatever. Yes, Hunt, you couldn't pay them 20, but you maybe could have done that a year earlier. You don't know. But you bring back Eichenberg? What was your reaction to that, Brett and Greg? When you saw that's another cultural thing. You're bringing back, the guy who they had Bullygate years ago, which ended up being fake news. I'm happy for Rich Incognito that it actually came out because I thought that was BS to begin with. Even though he was not the nicest guy in the world, he got railroaded. And who was around? Chris Greer. What a shock. But Liam Eichenberg is our bully. We bully him. Everyone bullies him. It's our number one thing. You wake up every morning, and the person you would like to throw a dart at on the Miami Dolphins is more than Chris Greer. It's Liam Eichenberg. So, when you saw that, what were you thinking?
Duh. This is Chris Greer. This is what he does. I'm not happy about it, but this is what he does. This is his. I'm going to save my draft picks. I'm going to let the good draft picks, the ones who actually set the culture and who play well, Van Ginkel. I'm going to let those guys go because Brian Flores is one of those guys. The guys I wanted are going to stay, and I'm going to force them on my coach because he forced them on Mike McDaniel before, and that's why we had Robert Jones at left guard, and McDaniel did not want Eichenberg at center anymore, and that's why they brought in Brewer.
He played him at all 5 positions already. He's played all 5 positions.
And they traded up for him. This is Greer trying to save face. And sometimes I believe this is Chris Greer saying, I ain't going nowhere. I can do what I want. Or this is Chris Greer saying, I got no money to spend from next year. I have to use what I have now. And I have too many holes in my roster to fix. I think, honestly, this is just Chris Greer is desperate and doesn't have much to work with and is trying to figure it out with pennies on the dollar. And I think it's going to backfire. I feel like Ross has set this up to say, we have a lot more money next year in 26 and a lot more money in 27. We're just going to let Greer ride this terrible year out, and then we can attract a good GM after that with a higher draft pick and more money. It's got to be because, why would you sign Eichenberg to a small contract like that you could have used for Campbell? But why would you sign it to a contract when you could have got almost any starting level guard for the same thing? I think Tevin Jenkins was signed for the same thing.
Brandon Scherf is sitting around.
You could have got.
Will Hernandez is still around.
Yeah, any of those guys as a shell themselves, you could have got for cheaper. So it's just Greer just doing what he does.
Also, go Greg. What do you think?
I like the signing. I'm sorry. I'm fine with it. All right. He would, if he'd have left, he'd have started on another team. All right.
He would have been better on another team.
Yeah, he's got 30 plus starts in this league.
Why is he back? Why does he want the abuse?
Well, I think he's comfortable down here.
Isaiah Wynn replaced him. Even when he came in, Isaiah Wynn, when he was finally healthy, he had to split staff with him. They didn't believe he could be a starter.
He didn't want to move out of his apartment in Miami. I don't know, but he would have signed for another team and he would have started. All right, he's Billy Turner in Miami. Billy Turner had a pretty successful career outside of Miami. All right,
once really he left, good at Green Bay.
Yeah, and he played well at Denver too. Okay,
mm-hmm. I hate it.
Liam Eichenberg is probably in the 50 range of guards in the league. All right, he might be worse than that, according to PFF or something like that.
There's 64. There's 64 guards. He was 60th.
Correct, but that means he's a starter. All right. People put too much value on an offensive guard.
Oh, we're gonna get to that. We're gonna get.
All right, and it just
that's yeah.
He doesn't matter in the big picture. All right, and he started a lot of games. He has positional versatility. You can say he sucks at all positions, but at least he can play. He's a smart guy. He's going to know the playbook. All right. I mean, for what they pay him, who cares? All right. He doesn't hurt you, all right. And you're going to play 7 or 8 offensive line anyway. So even if he's a backup, he's a backup that has 30 some odd starts. All right.
Well, see, I think my problem is they signed him to be a starter. We know damn well
they
signed him to be a starter.
Okay. Right. But one of the great signings or good signings this offseason was the player for the Bears who can't play dead, but he started 30 some odd games and he's like, okay, that's a good backup. He started. Well, it's Liam Eichenberg. All right. You watched him for 3 years and you're like, well, he just sucks. Yeah, he sucks, but so what? All right. Most offensive linemen in this league suck anyway. So I was okay with it. I'm okay with it because
you're good. So let me ask you. You guys seen a few interviews. You cannot continue to tell me. Number one, you haven't seen Chris Greer since the press conference. The guy literally must live in a cave. I have no idea how he hides the way that man does. But McDaniel, honestly, every time I attempt to listen to him, I bring out I take his thing into ChatGPT. I literally use ChatGPT when I listen to his speeches and say, can you find the 3 sentences of the 12 that he just said to answer a one-word answer and combine them to give me the word salad, Wonderlic, I don't know, New York Times crossword answer. The man never answers the question. I've never seen a deflector like that in my life. He is such a bad. That's one thing. And I know you. I always pick on you, me, and Brett and Greg. We've all gone on with the play calling. He is such a poor representative of this football team. He does not represent this team as being a proud, growing football team. He could not be that guy who could fix the locker room. The guy can't change. It's like that. It's like when we all have bosses. And or you have a kid, or we all have children, right? Your kids are getting a little older, Brett. Mm-hmm. But when your kid knows you're being nice, you're how you are with them, and then you try to be something different with them, they laugh at you. Yeah. They don't take you seriously. If he walks into OTAs this year and he's pounding the table, be there at 4 a.m., and he's kicking them, and he's he's throwing an Urban Meyer where he kicks the guy in the shin, the guy's gonna laugh. The guy is completely the wrong coach for this year's football team. Unless they know they were tanking. If this was 28-19, fine. But this guy is absolutely, not right culturally for this team. I'm not even talking about on the field. He's just bad for this overall concept of this team. Do you not agree? The way he's been talking this year, it's he hasn't learned a thing.
I don't really.
Well, of course, I love bearded. I love all my beards.
I don't.
Miss you, buddy. Miss you.
Honestly, the leadership from this front office, coaching staff, it's lacked for years, for a long time. There's been too much infighting, too much backstabbing, too much who's in control. And the thing that Greer said wouldn't happen back in 2019 happened right away. Who drafted who? So I think, honestly, it's got to start at the ownership before they can even find great leadership. Stephen Ross might be a good person and likes to do things for the community and the people and all that. But as far as football goes, he doesn't know who to rely on for the right people. And he puts too much faith into somebody and they get a little bit too much leadway. And we had this at my past job where you had people who would get a little bit too much leadway and then kind of get away with a little bit more than others. And you understand it to a point, but that causes issues. Greer can get away with more failures than let's say Flores or McDaniel. You know what I mean? So it's getting to the point where you have to have nobody's on the same page. Back when we had we drafted I can't remember
what year,
the linebacker over Anquan Bolden, 2003. Was it Rodgers? I can't remember. We I want to say it was Rodgers, but I can't remember the linebacker's name. Anyway, we took him over Anquan Bolden, or is it Greenwood? Because that's who Wanstead won it, but the GM won it Anquan Bolden, and the head coach got his way. So this has been a problem since before Ross too. But Ross is the owner, so he's going to have to figure out how to just destroy all that and say, everybody, do your job.
That's who we picked him. We got a first round pick.
And CW, you can it was a second round pick that year. CW, you can be suspended for conduct detrimental to the team without being arrested or anything.
Anymore.
That was
Eddie Moore.
it. Yep.
Yeah.
Let's say it was a linebacker, right?
Yeah, Bolden went 5 picks or 5 picks later.
Yeah, and was it Mueller at the time?
Oh, by the way,
Spielman.
you know Usi Mueller went like 2 picks later?
Yeah. Like that was another player that they wanted. They wanted, like, and that's the thing. See, like, Anquan Bolden was a stud right away. And we didn't have stud playmakers like that. We had Chris Chambers, but like Anquan Bolden was Anquan Bolden. You know what I mean? And this is the problem that we have. This is the issue we have.
No, it's the same philosophy on building a team. All right, that's plagued the organization for this century. All right, it really is. It's a philosophical change that needs to take place. All right, but back to McDaniel. McDaniel has no credibility. All right, he has none. If you want to be colorful, if you want to not say things, you better win. Okay, and in 3 years, he hasn't won nothing. He hasn't won anything significant outside of a game or two, here or there over the 3 years. He doesn't beat winning teams, and basically his shtick is run thin. Everybody sees through it. He's completely transparent, and basically that's how you lose a football team as a coach. If you do not have, all right, I do believe that leadership starts on a football team, especially at the NFL level, with players. You got to get the right players on the team, all right? And the coaching staff and the GM basically have to pick the right players, all right? But then once you pick the right players, you got to use them correctly, and you got to give them hope that they can win something, all right? Right now, there's no hope in Miami. Okay, why are some of these offensive linemen still out on the street? Well, they want to pick a good spot, and they're probably older, and they probably want to win. All right. So they're evaluating their opportunities. All right. Liam Eichenberg probably doesn't want to win. That's why he signed with Miami for the minimum. He could have signed that contract anywhere, but he's comfortable. All right.
No state tax.
Yeah, no state tax. He's
Why would I
living
ever
in a
go?
nice place.
It's better the devil you know than the devil you don't. Mike McDaniel's going to protect you.
Yeah, exactly. All right, and I just got to show up. I got to work hard in the clubhouse, and away we go. Okay.
And let me ask.
And that's the problem. That's the problem with this team. You're starting to see fans and the media talk about how unlikable this team is. And it's because of that I don't give two craps attitude about the actual game. And you see it, all right? Yeah. You see, and look, it's the off season. I understand this. You could go out and you can have fun, all right? I don't fault a player for that. But damn it, win. You know, when you're a losing franchise and that's the focus of your off season, that's a player mentality problem. All right, you're not taking your job seriously enough, in my opinion.
Like Sean McDermott, I'll give you a good example. Sean McDermott could be whatever. Like they haven't won, and that's a knock on him. But they win. Like as long as you're winning consistently, sooner or later something will happen. Harbaugh's they haven't won a Super Bowl in many years in Baltimore. We use them as a standard, but he keeps winning season. Tomlin keeps a job, winning seasons. McCarthy lost his job, no winning season, and they're like they couldn't win. Dan Quinn, look about this. Remember, weren't you at that game, or you were supposed to go to that game, Brett? We put 45 on the Commanders. 1 year
was there.
later, you were at that game. 45 points. We were doing the roller coaster, everything.
Oh yeah.
In one fell swoop, look at how many players ran to Washington. Look at that roster now, because they won 1 year with young talent, and now they're building. Then they won with the young talent, which Miami couldn't, and then they added the key players in different spots. They didn't have to give a lot to get them, and they have a good coach. They have a smart coordinator who's actually been a coordinator, unlike ours, who got a head coaching job without being a coordinator. And they're off to the races. A good owner, a good GM. We all know who he is. I know you're a big Andrew Peters fan. We're all a big Dan Quinn fan. Like, Cliff Kingsbury is great as an offensive coordinator. Like, how smart is Wes Welker? I don't know if you guys saw the news. Wes Welker took a staff position there where he can work with all the different staff members. Why? Winning attitude. Why wouldn't he go there? If I'm Debo Samuel, who he worked with in San Francisco, or I'm Telly McLaurin, Wes Welker is a winner. He's been on great teams. He played with Peyton Manning. He played with Tom Brady.
He was a scapegoat.
He was a scapegoat. Mike McDaniel had to find a scapegoat. We knew Crosby was going, but that was his scapegoat. Like, for me, John Embry deserved more to be fired. Frank Smith deserved more to be fired. Even Butch Berry. I don't care about Butch Berry 2 years ago. No, because offensive line for me is not like you and me. We don't think it's as important as everyone thinks it is. It isn't. Because you wonder what if you have I've always said this. If you have a great running back or a bell cow, who cares what your offensive line does? I really couldn't care less. Honestly. Because Saquon Barkley was not better. Saquon Barkley was the same Saquon Barkley. You look at his stats very carefully. He had an amazing season last year, but it was propelled by the fact that he was playing on a great team. But he still had great stats. Was in New York, and his team in front of him sucked. He was still a top running back. That was why he went after him.
That's what Greg said. That's what Greg said before. If you what the Ravens do? The Ravens have one of the best offensive lines. Philly is one of the best offensive lines.
I took him first. Brett took him first, and I took him second.
If offensive line is so important, why do teams who have and develop offensive line in the Ravens and Eagles go get premier running backs?
Mm-hmm.
Weird.
Mm-hmm. And most of their offensive linemen were not first round picks.
Yeah. So Eagles' last offensive lineman that was taken in the first round that's still on the roster was Lane Johnson, 2013. They've drafted some in the first since then, but they didn't pan out. The Eagles do what smart teams do. They draft offensive linemen in day 2, where most of your good offensive linemen go. Unless you trade up for Liam Eichenberg over Creed Humphrey. That's different. But I mean, like, if you're going to go off, like, the offensive line thing, it's so overstated. It's like you have to have a good unit. Was it Paul Alexander, I think, used to coach in the NFL as offensive lineman? I remember he was on the NFL Network back in this. I think it's during the 2020 draft. He was talking about. Actually, no, it was after the 21 season, because Liam Eichenberg was actually in the red, and it says very rare for a player to go from the red to like the orange or green. He said it's just or like to the yellow. He said it's just hopeful that they can get, if they're in the red, you just hope they can become like an average at best offensive lineman or a serviceable starter. And he said people thought like you had to have 3 to 4 bona fide like studs on the offensive line. And he said you really need 2 good offensive linemen and like 3 solid like serviceable guys. Like it's basically you need 2 studs and then the rest just kind of falls into place. And it depends on your system and all, but a lot of times your center or left tackle, then the rest kind of falls in, but you don't have to reach for that. And it doesn't really matter for the offensive line as far as that goes. Like it's overstated. Like the offensive line, it's basically with the Dolphins, it's always been staying healthy, and they always got the guys who aren't healthy, but they also don't develop guys whatsoever. And they don't look for guys in day 3 that they can develop and make better. So that's a big part of it too. But this team, like, that's the thing. There's with the direction of it. Who was after Robert Hunt left? Who was the replacement? You knew Robert Hunt's contract was coming due. You knew he was going to be expensive. You knew your philosophy is not.
Where'd they draft him? Where'd they draft him?
2nd round. But here's the thing. They knew, oh, you know what? We don't pay interior offensive line. We don't do that. That's our philosophy. That's fine. That's good. I'm okay with that. But how did you not have a replacement on the roster? Like, it's not that hard to find starting quality guards. So it's like, where's your replacement for Wilkins? You know what I mean? Like, you're not prepared, and you know damn well this is coming up. It's not like it's, oh my God, I didn't know Wilkins' contract was going to expire. Oh no, you knew this was happening. It's just you're so terrible. The Dolphins remind me of the financially irresponsible couple that's like, how are we always in debt? Man, how come we can't have things? Oh, it's because we spend it as soon as we get it. That's the Dolphins.
Yeah.
Well, the Dolphins knew that Armstead was probably going to retire this year, so they drafted a tackle last year who couldn't see the field, and now we have no idea whether he can play or not.
And now we're saying let's draft the guy that we could play at guard and slide over the tackle.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with that philosophy, but we shouldn't have to be in that situation.
Well, I mean, like I said in one of our first shows, if you just think that all offensive lines suck, then you quit worrying about them. And guess what? Yeah. All offensive lines suck. So
I wish I could find it somewhere. The state of the offensive line is down in the NFL because of the quick passing, and the passing in the NFL is getting rid of the ball quicker, and it goes back to college, where college teams, the way they're spread out, offensive linemen aren't have to block as much. It's a good reason why Ohio State offensive linemen aren't working out in the NFL. It's because they are just a project, because they're not asked to do anything that you do in the NFL. So it becomes this, it's growing pains for linemen in the NFL.
And you know, I, with Dave and stuff like that on our chat on X, you know,
we're gonna get to the draft in a
minute. But
Sea Devil Jackson was developed, but he was supposed to be the franchise left tackle.
No, wasn't Liam Eichenberg at one point?
Then it was
Jackson,
a guard.
Then it was Eichenberg.
Then a right tackle. No, they
drafted Eichenberg
to replace Jackson, because Jackson wasn't the guy, and then that didn't work. So, yeah.
Well, no, yeah, I mean, since the first draft of this rebuild, okay, you drafted a center in the third round in your first draft. You drafted a left tackle in the first round of your second draft. You drafted a guard in your second round in your second draft. Then in the third draft, you drafted another guard in the second round.
Well, they also drafted Kindley in the fourth in 2020.
Yeah. All right. So in your first three drafts of this rebuild, you drafted 4 offensive linemen in the third round or higher. And basically, you had to sign 3 more free agents just to make a starting offensive line. All right.
The problem isn't with the Dolphins that they don't draft offensive linemen; they draft bad offensive linemen.
But they draft offensive linemen and defensive tackles, because they also drafted 2 defensive tackles in the first 2 drafts. All right. In the first one in the first, one in the second. Yeah. All right.
One and Wilson.
Yeah. All right. You spent 5 premium draft picks, actually 6 premium draft picks in the first 3 drafts of your rebuild on positions that don't matter.
And players aren't here anymore.
And you wonder why you have to sign free agents to high prices. And the thing is,
you could have got Justin Simmons instead of Wilkins in 2019, and he could actually rush the passer. And so I'll put it like Greg has told me before, and I 100% agree with this. When he says positions that don't matter, offensive line and interior defensive line, people think like, oh, the NFL runs through them. Not necessarily. The interior defensive linemen, the only ones I would take early are the guys who affect the pass and rush the passer. Just like a running back. Like if a running back, like I'm not taking a running back early unless he's a premier running back that just steps in and is a playmaker right away. Like Adrian Peterson styles, you know, like I'm not taking a guy in the first round if he's just your run-of-the-mill running back or so that's what Greg is saying, like just to kind of clarify that. So like you get an Aaron Donald or like I mentioned Justin Simmons or the defensive tackles, I consider Vita Vea one too, who are disruptful, who like collapse the line of scrimmage and make it easy for your pass rushers. Guys like that are worth taking early at premium picks. But if you're not doing that, the point like Eagles won with the interior rush. So if you're going to use the Eagles as an example to debunk Greg, that's why I wanted to put that out there, because people try that. It's like, yeah, but Jalen Carter rushed the passer. Jordan Davis can collapse the pocket, and he can rush the passer and get his hands in passing lanes and affect the pass. Again, it goes back to the pass, because that's what the NFL is built around. So interior defensive lineman, I love the Wilkins, And I thought he was a good player, and I thought he affected the pass enough to be considered a good player, but not. I don't think he did it enough. However, I still liked him. I liked Wilkins, but like Calais Campbell, you see the effect he had on our defense with how well he rushed the passer. The dude was so good for the interior, and it changed. It made the defensive line that much better. Sorry, Greg, I want to put that out there for you.
So we talked about the current team, but something's about to happen in about 2 weeks from now. The Dolphins will be up, probably not going to be on the clock yet, but they'll be almost on the clock. 13th pick, probably an hour and a half in, an hour 15, maybe. They may be on the clock right now. You never know. But
by the way, since 19, we drafted 9 offensive linemen overall, all picks. Just throwing it out there.
By the way, what are your thoughts every time he does deuces? Great troll. I love every time he does deuces. Honestly, he knows what he's doing. He's a marketing maven, that guy.
Yeah.
But he keeps himself relevant. So in 2 weeks from now, the Miami Dolphins are going to be drafting. They have 10 draft picks. They should have 11 because they gave up a pick. I think the way hilarious that they traded up again to get Jalen Wright, and what they didn't use him. And by the way, as a side note, and I think you guys we forgot about something very important. If we trade Tyreek Hill, you're all talking how we have Malik Washington, Nick Westbrook-Akine, Taj Washington, and all these guys on the wide receiver core. You forgot about who our number 1 wide receiver was last year. It wasn't Tyreek Hill. It wasn't Jalen Waddle. It was Devon Achane. Don't forget, Devon Achane to me could be our wide receiver. No problem. I don't want him running the ball. Let him be our third option. I don't care because him running the ball is a disaster for this football team. Yes, DSG. He is a mid running back. Great pass catching wide receiver. Running back. Awful running back. Awful. So I would go draft a running back.
Ryan Smith of PFF keeps saying that Achane should be a receiver.
I think he should be a receiver. By the way, because I'm telling you this right now, if Genty's sitting there at 13, or I could trade up a little bit to go get Genty, I'm going to get Genty. I don't care. That's a running back. I don't care what anybody says. That's a running back.
He reminds me of Frank Gore with his stature.
Oh my God, what a power guy that is.
I hate the comparisons to J.H.I. because that's just lazy.
That's an insult.
Yeah.
So I know you're going to be having a side chat. I'm not in that chat, but because I haven't been cordially invited, and I'd probably cause trouble in there. But everyone's been talking about the narrative that the way the Dolphins are going to get better this year is we have to fill the trenches. I will admit this. Offensive line will be what it is. The defensive line is kind of funny that it is basically Zach Sealer on an island by himself. But let me just tell you something. The reason why he's on an island by himself, people are thinking, you guys all said, well, Chris Greer was penny pinching this year. I'm convinced, yes, he may have zipped up the wallet, but if I'm a player, why would I sign in Miami? Like, that's the thing about the free agency. Nothing surprised me about free agency, and I was never reactive or upset or happy about any of the players. I think this was going to be more of a draft year, is because when you draft someone, they have to come play for you. They want to play. They're young. If you're a veteran NFL player or a good NFL player, why would you want to come to this dumpster fire? So when you have the players they're signing at these contracts, they want, because these are players who want to become starters. They're trying to become starters. They're trying to become better players. But they're not coming here to win. They're coming here to become starters. They think they have a chance to play. That's why they came. They didn't come to win. They don't think they're going to win this year. They're coming here for a year to see if they can, as an audition, to go somewhere else next year. That's what they're doing. The Miami Dolphins are at stomping ground for 1 year, like one and done, off to the NBA. Like, that's what they are. That's exactly what they are to these free agents. I don't see it any other way. Tell me if you disagree after, but that's my theory. So for the draft, I'm of the mindset every time someone talks about, if they're the best player in the draft, if Membu's there, great. But if you have players like Will Johnson, and you have players like you have Genty, or you have McMillan, or you have Eminuri, if you think he's the best player. Someone taught me this. Tell me if you know who he is. When the quarterback is front and center, is he looking at the D line, or is he looking at the people? Is he looking at the safety, or is he looking at the corner? Is he looking at what's going on in the deep, Like when you're hitting a baseball, you're looking at the infielders, you're looking at the outfielders and where they're moving. In
Safety.
baseball. What is this nonsense? Teach the people here, my mentors over here. What is this BS about going to field trenches? Honestly, if they think that going to get Membu is a better move, or they're going to get whatever, it's better than going to get Will Campbell or Genty sitting there, or if McMillan's sitting there, or even if Tyler Warren's sitting there. I'm not necessarily saying that, or even if Jihad, what's his name, the corner? I forget his name off the top of my head. Barron.
Yeah.
Or even or Malachi Starks, who I think has dropped a little bit, but still, like, are you crazy? Like, what are we doing here? Like, best player available, I don't care who they are, is not an offensive lineman on this team. Yet, because honestly, if they draft an offensive lineman / guard, they basically said, why the frick did we draft Patrick Paul? Like, why did we do that? And I'm not worried about Patrick Paul. Patrick Paul's a big guy. If they bring in the right coach, he has the right size to be a good left tackle. I didn't want Armstead back. If Armstead came back, they basically said, why did you draft him? Like, what a waste of time that would have been.
Yeah.
That was another wasted pick. So teach the people here why, and what you were basically talking with Dave, how we need to build with best players available on the outside, whether it's receiver, running back, safety, corner, even linebacker, whatever. But the trenches, you can get those players in the second round. Those players you can get in the third round. You get them in the third day. And that's how you build a franchise. So you guys take the floor for a while. Go for
it. It's been ingrained in a lot of people's minds that the game is played inside out. And if you're talking about the 70s, 80s, the 90s, and maybe even the first couple years of 2000s, all right, you could make the argument that, yeah, the game is played inside out. It's in the trenches. It starts in the trenches and things like that. When I played high school and I played the first couple years of college, our check with me's were based on what the defensive line was doing on offense. All right. Mm-hmm. By the time I'm coaching, further in my career in the mid 90s, that had completely changed. The quarterback really didn't even look at the defensive line. You don't even consider the defensive line. All right. And people they don't understand what they're seeing now that's causing pressures in the NFL. All right. Everything starts at the back. When the quarterback comes to the line of scrimmage, he reads the defensive backfield. He reads the coverage. The coverage dictates what the linebackers are doing. The linebackers then dictate what the defensive line is doing. It goes from back to front. All right.
Your safeties are really the cue.
Correct. Okay. You look at the structure of offenses and defenses today compared to 25 years ago. Okay. Offensive players on the field are smaller. Why? Because you put a third wide receiver on the field and you took out a fullback. All right. Running backs are smaller now compared to what they were back in the day because they have to do more things. They want to get outside as opposed to running in between the tackles. The defense has adjusted to this. They play 5 DBs more than anything else.
Yep.
All right. Your big safeties of years gone, the Louis Olivers, the Steve Atwaters, all right, the 225-pound safeties.
John
would be
Lynch
linebackers today.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. When's the last time you've seen a 250, 260-pound linebacker? You don't. All right. You don't see. There's still a handful of them, but back in the day, Tim Bowens. You don't see defensive tackles Tim Bowen size on every team now. They're lean. They're sealer. Okay. The players on the field have gotten smaller. Why? Because it starts from the outside and it comes inside down. All right. And that when you understand that, when you understand the pay structure in the NFL, the teams pay the players they deem more important.
Mm-hmm.
Quarterbacks, wide receivers are the highest paid on offense.
Corners.
It's not left tackles. All right. Cornerbacks, pass rushers, are the most important players on defense. Those are the ones making the most money on defense. It's not defensive tackles. It's not linebackers. So why do you want to use your premium draft picks for the least impactful positions and the cheapest positions? Because the most important thing to winning in the NFL in the salary cap era, in today's era, is to draft players and have them produce way above what they're making. Because once you pay them on their second contract, the production and the pay levels out.
Yep.
But if you can get a cheap player playing at this level, it gives you a huge advantage. All right. Kansas City has won 2 of the last 3 Super Bowls. Philadelphia won this last Super Bowl. And one of the biggest reasons why is because they had cheap, highly productive secondaries. All right. You look at the reason why the O-line had issues in Kansas City in the Super Bowl. First of all, the O-line was playing backups, and they still made it to the Super Bowl. Secondly, all right, the reason that the pass rush was getting home because they said it on the telecast. You can rewatch it. You know, the average time for the rush to get to the quarterback was 3.3 seconds. That's not great. Okay, but it worked because the DBs were taking away the first pass, the first option. All right, Mahomes was confused. All right, in one of the things that they were late to do, in my opinion, in that game was, what do you do when your quarterback's confused and can't figure out what the coverage is?
Check it down.
No, you send your fast guys long and you say, I don't care what the coverage is, throw it to the fast guy.
I was joking because we did on the last show because that's what Tua does. Tua gets nervous. Check it down.
Yeah, you know, but that's what you do. All right. I've coached basically all semblances of offense. All right. I've coached the 3 wide receiver passing heavy offense, quick passing game. I've coached wishbone. All right.
Good God.
Okay, yeah, exactly. All right. I've coached the wishbone. All right.
Oh, wait, T.
But one of the things that I learned coaching the wishbone was, all right, it's basically it's a read. The first option is a read to the fullback. You have to read the defensive tackle to basically hand it to the fullback. If the defensive tackle does this, you pull it. If he does this, you hand it off, right? If the quarterback is confused,
But they didn't ignore it in the Super Bowl, though. They threw the hell out of the ball in the Super Bowl.
They threw the ball the hell.
Yeah, but if your quarterback is confused as to whether to hand the ball off or not, you hand the ball off. Why? Because the defense is telling you what they're doing, and after you do that a couple times, you figure it out. The passing attack is the same way. If you're confused as to what's going on, you throw the ball deep, because essentially you have one player on maybe 2. It doesn't matter if it's a cover 2, a cover 3. It doesn't matter if it's man or whatever. You're behind all of the stuff that you're not reading correctly. So you got to get to the next level. What you have to do in today's NFL, when you're 60 some odd % pass all the time, all right, when you're throwing the ball 35 times on average compared to running it under 25, is you have to adapt to the passing game, and the passing game starts out wide. And when your average time to throw is 2.6, 2.7 seconds across the league, what does that tell you as an offensive lineman? In a shotgun, I basically just have to get in front of somebody, and in 2.5 to 2.7 seconds, the ball should be out. And even if you run me over, you're not getting there. And Anthony, do I blame Andy Reid more than Patrick Mahomes? Yes. And I've said this about Andy Reid in the past. I think he does a great job preparing his team. I don't think he's very quick to adjust when he needs to.
Mike McDaniel might be watching him a little too much.
What's that?
Mike McDaniel must be watching that part of his games.
But I am sitting on my couch watching the Super Bowl saying Patrick Mahomes needs to throw the ball deep.
Yeah.
All right, because he was getting confused.
Well, that's what we need to do. Maybe Zach Wilson needs to stand there and just throw the ball deep. You never know. He has a better arm.
To the point, all right, he completes the long touchdown to Worthy when the game is out of hand.
Yeah.
And the DBs were playing even deeper because they were trying to keep everybody in front of them.
Started working.
Yeah. And I was like, well, yeah, Andy Reid should have done this, 2.5 quarters ago.
Yeah. So
that's true.
Brett, what do you think about this whole nonsense of trenches or inside out versus outside in?
It's a load of crap. It's why did the Dolphins get better in the first place when McDaniel got here? Because they got better at impact players. They got better at corner. I would say corner, but they got better at pass rusher. They got deeper at pass rusher. So what did they do? Oh, they threw the ball more. They threw the ball more effectively. Oh, and they rushed the passer well with Chubb and all. Weird. It's almost like throwing the ball matters. And it comes down to it. The Ravens kept losing to the Bills. Why? Because in the playoffs, because the Bills quarterback play is that much better. And
he throws the ball.
Yeah. And that passing attack. And the reason the Bills have a run game, I keep hearing this nonsense. Oh, the Bills offensive line's great. The Bills offensive line put Josh Allen in Miami, swap him with Tua. And what? No, it'll be the same exact result because Josh Allen will carry this offense. He will carry everything. He makes everything better. He's that elite, and that's the difference. But it's because the NFL runs through quarterbacks. And that's what it is. So Josh Allen is the reason that team is great. And if he was in Miami, it would make things a lot better. But that's why Miami has been better and played well or been more explosive, scored more points under McDaniel because of the offense. But it goes back to the trenches only look bad because the quarterback's not seeing the safeties. I'm so tired of it's Tyreek Hill's fault that he threw those 3 interceptions. Oh, if it's offensive line, give him more time. He's had more time. The problem is the longer you give him in the pocket, and sometimes defenses won't rush to give him time, and he can't get the ball deep, and he's almost basically taking coverage sacks. He's still throwing it. The ball's coming up short because he can't get it to the outside the numbers that deep or the far hash outside the numbers. So people don't realize either ball alignment matters. And when your arm is limited, if you're on the right side far or right side hash and Tyreek's running the deep route to the left, throwing that ball outside of the numbers on the outside hash, that's a farther throw than throwing it outside the numbers to the right. So people say, oh, he threw it outside the numbers there. Yeah, to the same side hash, but to the opposite side hash, he can't do it. That's the problem. And that's where the issues start to come into play, his limitations. And it's not the offensive line's fault. Could our offensive line improve? Sure. But do you want the run game to improve? Improve the running backs. Do you want the defense to improve? Well, stay healthy. The defense needs better pass rushers or healthy pass rushers. But honestly, Chubb and Phillips are good. They're not elite. So, and they're not reliable to stay healthy. So the trenches thing, the interior defensive line thing, it's unless you're looking for someone who rushes the passer, which is why like Mason Graham or Kenneth Grant or some of those guys in the draft, because they do get after the quarterback, I'm still not rushing to take one at 13 because it's not really going to be an impact that this team needs. And it comes as far as people keep pushing this offensive line thing. If this team wants to be better blocking, get better blocking a tight end, which they may have done, who knows? But it's ultimately going to come down to the quarterback. I don't care what anybody says; it's the quarterback what it comes down to. And if he doesn't improve, it's going to still be blamed to the offensive line, but it's not the offensive line's fault.
No, and the other thing the other thing that's different today, and it's even and it even moves further down the spectrum every year. The amount of pressures due to scheme over O-line failure keeps going up. All right. And when I say scheme, it can mean a couple different things. All right. One, you have 5 blockers most of the time. Most offenses are putting 5 people out in a pattern. All right. Because that's the way offense is set up now. And you have 6 defenders in the box. Essentially, what that means is you have one of your tackles basically blocking 2 people. And if that inside player comes, if it's a 4-2 or a 3-3, whatever the rush arrangement is, somebody's got double duty. All right. And if you occupy that tackle, that's a scheme rush. If you get him to peek inside while somebody comes over the top, right? You can also, if you're going to keep the running back in to block that sixth person, you can scheme it to put your defensive end, being picked up by the running back, as opposed to a linebacker being picked up, a blitzing linebacker, which is small on small, which is what you want. All right. So there's effective blocking schemes, but if there are pressure results from it, it's because the defense coordinator is good at his job and he schemed them home. All right. So there's the individual players rushing the passer and the individual blockers blocking the pass rushers is minimized because it's a scheme pressure system. And you have to do that because if you're getting rid of the ball in 2.5 to 2.7 seconds, like everybody in the league is, you almost have to set up a free rusher to get there in that amount of time. I mean, the quarterback is already 7 yards deep, in a shotgun. You can't get there any quicker than that. Mm-hmm. So the league is doing, and the way the offenses and the rules are set up, everything's being done to minimize trench play. Mm-hmm. And if the better teams in the league understand this, and I'm looking at the draft board right now. There's only two I think offensive tackles in the top 18 prospects. You know what? That number keeps going down too. Yeah. And I would argue because this is a relatively weak skill position draft, that those numbers are the two players that are up there are higher than what they probably should be.
Yeah, probably.
Yep. And I'm going to tell you this: these offensive linemen are going to go high, and I think a lot of talent. I don't want to say it's going to drop, but I think like Greg, I think you said this before. I think the second round is going to be where you've had the best value.
And maybe in the third round. Wait, we don't have a third round.
Well, I think this is.
Well, we're missing a third round pick because we gave one up for Wright.
I think this is one of those classic draft situations where you can make an argument that like 12 to 60 are almost the exact same grade. It just depends on what you individually want to see. There's not really a huge talent difference in here. This is a second day draft.
We have a third round pick, don't we? We have 98.
98, yeah, but we had 2/3. We gave up one of our.
Oh
thirds.
yeah, that's right. Yeah. We have 2 fourths.
Right. Yeah.
So, and Greer has knocked out these third round picks. He's just knocked them out.
No.
I think his best player he's taken the third round is probably Achan.
We'll get to that, Anthony. So I know, Brett, you guys, we really appreciate everyone watching. We're about 80 something minutes in. We usually go pretty quick here. One thing I thought it would be do for fun for us before we have to go, because if we had Greg and Brett running this team, maybe we would have a chance in life. So if I can get this to work, let's try this. Let me see if I can get this to work. 1 second. Right.
I'd make people unhappy.
Let's see.
I'd speak to the fans more than Greer would.
Well, yeah, I would too. Like, I messed up, guys. I'd admit, I missed on those picks, guys. That's my bad. We'll fix it.
You guys happen to be able to see my screen at all?
No? I still see the.
There we go. I got it to work. So what we're going to do here is you can each do your own one. Okay. I want you guys to compare and give me your feedback on it. I'll run it. We're going to do a Dolphins draft where who wants to go first, Greg or Brett?
I'll go first. Why not?
You go first? Okay.
So
we're going to do a solo draft. We'll just have some fun with this. If you want me to make anything a little bit bigger, let me know. But
yeah, scrolling a little bit. Apparently, I'm getting old.
Okay, so basically, the first draft pick you can do Pick 13. We were offered a pick. There's a couple of them. You can take 13 and 98 and trade it for 20, 51 and a second, a 2036 second, or 13 and 253 for 26, 90, 101 and a LA round second. Or do you want to keep your 13th?
No, I'm just gonna keep my picks for now.
Okay, you want to keep your
I
picks.
probably
for now.
should trade down.
Okay,
but
so let's reject both.
If they were to trade up, there's probably something.
What position do you want to go look at?
Well, let's see. Let's go. Well, that's all players, right?
Yeah, that's all players. What do you want?
Oh man, can't see here.
Can't see anything. I can try to make it a little bit bigger.
You zoom in a little bit.
Let's see if I can do it.
Yeah,
Let's look at wide receiver because there should be a couple wide receivers there that I would take there, or corner.
I might move my full screen layout.
There you go. That's good enough.
But we're not showing each other. We're not showing our faces, but that's okay.
That's all right.
Yeah. That's probably a bonus anyway.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So what would
Especially
you like
being
to
this
do?
close. Let's look at wide receivers.
Wide receivers. Let's go wide receivers. Let's
I'm
go
not gonna
here.
make this.
Offense. Wide receivers. So you have basically golden, and then you're basically going to second.
Yeah, I would
round.
go. Let me look at corner. I want to see what we got at corner there. See, I'm
Basically
going to go
Barron, who everyone's talking about.
Yeah, I mean, not at 13.
Safety. I mean, Yori and Starks are still there. Watts is obviously a second rounder.
I mean, Awori, he's rated really low. He should be higher than that, but he's better. Go back to overall players. Because I would probably
you have Warren, Jalen Walker, Golden, Mike Green, who moved up quite a bit. Loveland.
I'm not falling for that trap. I won't fall for. Now Harmon can get after the quarterback now, but I would probably go. I'll go Michael Williams from Georgia there, edge rusher.
You want Michael Williams?
I know a lot of people are like, why not Ty Warren? But does that really push the needle?
Mike Williams?
Yeah,
that's what McDaniel would do. Remember McDaniel always said he'd take an edge rusher every draft. So we're going to go.
Yeah, and I would actually have Mikael Williams higher than that anyway. So
okay, so let's take him. So now, 48. You want to just stick the draft, sticking with our picks, no trade downs or anything like that?
Yeah, I'll do that to make it a little bit faster. That way we don't have extra picks and stuff.
Okay. Oh. So now you still have somebody like Marion Hampton, and then you still have Morrison, Connerly. You want to look at what position you want to look at?
Actually, I would just take Trey Harris at Ole Miss. I like Trey Harris.
Okay.
And this is with me. I would trade Tyreek.
Yeah.
Before that, to give me Trey Harris there in the second round, and now I have an edge rusher and I have a wide receiver, wide receiver. So
now you're at 98. The players who were drafted, who are still ranked a little higher, and Alexander, Wilson, Trapilo. So you have an offensive tackle right there in Trapilo. You have Jared Wilson from Georgia, and then you have another tackle, Darius Alexander.
Joshua
Farmer's there.
Hold on, Zy Alexander would be there in the third. Yeah, I don't know about that, but actually, I would go Jared Wilson there at the center there. That would actually be. He's a pretty good center.
You take him?
Yeah, he's a pretty good offensive lineman. Pretty good prospect, anyway. I don't know,
go for it, Anthony, if you'd like. Just really focus on this. I know we have to cut it off a little short today. Usually we don't. Now you're at 116. Restrepo's still there, which people will be banging on the table because it's from Miami. Who cares?
Yeah, I don't care.
And then there's some players. Everyone's falling where they are. Felton's there. Hancock's there. You can maybe take a corner. Mondon Jr. Up to you.
Jalen Reed at Penn State safety.
Okay, there you go. Oh, you're not going to go. Not going to go for Quentin Ewers. Basically,
nope.
Arch Manning is going to have a great year.
I mean, you could, but
yeah.
No, I was going to say Jalen Reed is. Yeah, if you don't take Jalen Reed there, I'd have smacked you.
Oh yeah. I saw him there. Like, wait a minute, he's still there.
Hey,
I'm taking him.
What are your thoughts on Jordan Phillips? You like him?
I like him.
Okay, he's still.
I don't
there.
like his name.
Of course not. That's why. By the way, why do you think I said it? Why do you think I said it?
Memories.
Well, Logan Brown's there. Jacob Parrish is there.
I see, like Logan Brown would be a good spot here. I mean, Quinn Ewers here. Quinn Ewers. Give me a development quarterback too. But
I was going to say that one's really tempting here.
Yeah, I would go. You know what? I'll go with Quinn Ewers because at this point, developmental, if he doesn't do anything, who cares? Did you really spend anything for it?
Now you're at 150. Do you want to see who you have so far?
Yeah.
Here are your picks. So you've drafted an edge, a wide receiver, an offensive center, safety, and a quarterback. So you haven't touched defensive line yet. So poor Zach Sealer's all by himself.
Oh no!
You haven't touched running back yet because of Jalen Wright's all by himself with Madison because A-Chan's been moved to wide receiver. So you basically have your 5 wide receivers now.
But here's the funny part. Devin Neal out of Kansas is actually a decent running back.
You want to take him?
Yeah.
You want him?
Yep.
Okay.
Oh, I could have took Ryan Mills there for Notre Dame defensive tackle.
Okay.
He's not a bad prospect.
I was going to say that would.
Look, Ryan Mills. There you go. Take him.
Yeah,
right
I was
there.
going to say I wouldn't.
You better take him, or he's going to smack you.
Yeah, boom, right there. The fact that he was still there, I'd jump all over it too.
Yeah.
He shouldn't be there that late, but you never know with these. That Jared Wilson, that's a good center.
So now you're at 224. The one player, did he take it? Oh, don't tell me he take it. Because my guy, who I did a lot of research on at the beginning. I don't know if he's still there. Is he still there? No, he was taken. If you guys ever have a chance, go watch his tape. There's a guy by the name of Jackson Hawes from Georgia Tech, I think. The guy is a beast. Just go. He's like a 6 offensive lineman. I've never seen a block tight end like anything like that in the 6th round. And he must have been taken a little earlier.
He probably was.
Where was he taken?
But you got Carter.
Jackson Hawes. Yeah.
Go look him. Go watch his tape. I'm telling you, for a 3rd-day guy, a tight end, I'd take him in a heartbeat if he's still.
Wait, look up, scroll up on that tight ends. On the actual position itself.
Yeah. You have Luke Leakley.
Huh.
Thomas Fedone, Gavin Bartholomew.
What's available?
Total available. That's available. Total available right now. You have Ty Robinson
out of Nebraska.
Yeah.
And
Hemingway, Hunter, Hamilton.
See, I would go I would go tight end to Iowa. Luke Leakey.
Those guys in Iowa, they make good tight ends there.
Well, I was going to say that's a tight end place right there.
Exactly.
They block at least.
Yep.
Yeah. And so then now you have one more pick. I think this is your last pick. I think.
The last pick.
Last pick of the draft for you. You either can go Hemingway, Hunter, Hamilton, Jenkins, Gideon, Howard Cross, Rourke. You're not going to take another quarterback.
No, I don't think another quarterback. I'd probably go. You know what? Did I just see the running back from Clemson?
No, running back.
No, Phil Maffa. No.
You have Jacquez Hunter, you have Phil Maffa, you have Trevor Etienne.
Good Trevor Etienne. Give you another quick running back.
And I'm going to keep these, by the way, because I want you guys to redo.
It.
Oh, they have one more. How'd they get another one? Maybe compensatory. Compensatory.
Let's see. Yeah, Mario Anderson.
I'll give you all players. So they still have Lacey available, Stackhouse, Martin, Shiloh Sanders, Colorado. Isn't that Shadur's brother?
Yeah.
Another safety. Simpkins. Miller.
Actually, scroll back up. Go Stackhouse out of Georgia. I like it. Okay,
I'm going to keep this, actually. I'm going to download it. I've downloaded it.
I did better than Greer.
So that's your draft, and we're going to redo this to see if you might change your picks, and we can compare it on our next show. We're going to restart now, and we're going to have Greg go.
That's what I thought. Stackhouse is that big beefy guy.
I see how he could do a little bit different. Without trading down, let's stick with our 10 picks because trading with McGreer is a little ridiculous.
He doesn't ever trade. That's something to get into later on.
Let me restart this because I want to go fast. I really go fast. It was going normally. So let's just pull this up. By the way, guys, if Shadur goes in the top 10, are people reaching?
I don't think so.
Okay.
No.
So, where are you going, Greg? First pick of the draft. Where are you going? You have Walker.
With this board, I'm taking Malachi Starks.
Okay.
Which is to see.
I have no confidence in our safeties whatsoever, and I like him a lot.
Okay.
I wouldn't be surprised to see the kid from South Carolina go higher than the other safeties.
I don't know. Yeah. By the way, what is your thoughts on the fact that now all these mock drafts, like all of a sudden this guy was in the mid seconds, now Gray Zabel's moving up to the first? Like, what the heck are people thinking?
So the reason that happens is now they've been talking with NFL scouts and stuff like that, and they've gotten notes, and now they realize, oh, NFL teams are higher. We were here on these guys, but NFL teams are like, no, we're here on those guys. We're here on the others.
Yeah, probably. So now you have Kenneth Grant, you have Mason Taylor, who's been meeting with the Dolphins. Landon Jackson.
Kenneth Grant in a second. What?
I want to take Mason Taylor, but I won't.
This guy's been everywhere here for us.
If I'm taking this board right now, I'm probably leaning toward Trey Amos from Ole Miss.
And why would Kenneth Grant be that far down?
I don't know. That guy's good. People are still talking about him in the first round.
Yeah, I mean
he's a good defensive lineman. He's worth a first round pick.
Yeah. So now you're here. I'm going to look at any specific things, but similar board that he had. Trapilo's there, Walker's there, Keenard's there, Knight's there, Horton's there, Farmer, Bowman, Restrepo, Howard's there.
Yeah, I'm go back up. Yeah, I'm probably taking oh boy.
Manzano wants you to take. I want you to take Ozzy.
It's between Kennard and Grant. I'm probably taking Kennard.
Yeah, I would say there's a couple names there.
Grant's still there. Sanker's now there. Savion Williams is there. You haven't taken a wide receiver yet or a running back.
Yeah, again, I'd love to take Gadsden here, but I probably won't.
Well, let me ask you guys your opinion, because I brought up before about Restrepo, but people are very high on Martinez. What do you think of Martinez in this round, Damien?
I think this is a round early for him, to be honest with you.
You might get him in 10 picks, 15 picks.
I think people are.
What about Ollie Gordon?
Jalen Reed's there too.
What about Ollie Gordon? But Bobby's very high on Ollie Gordon. He likes Ollie Gordon a lot. You know that.
Yeah, this is where I'm probably looking O-line if I'm going to take somebody. So I'd probably go with that Grant.
Yeah. So the question is Martinez still there? Martinez is not there anymore. I think he was taken.
All right, so I'm taking yours here.
You taking yours here?
Yeah.
Okay.
We both took flyers on yours.
Yeah.
Now you're at 150. You could take Caldwell, Malachi Moore.
So I'm taking Malachi Moore here.
Yeah, he's a good player.
He comes from a good program.
What do you guys think of Dylan Gabriel? Because that's also been a little at the beginning of the draft season. People were talking about him as a potential project for McDaniel. But,
Oregon Tua?
Yeah, Oregon Tua.
No, I'm good. I'm not. Gabriel's a smart kid. He's tough, but he's out of that. He's small. He doesn't have a huge arm, but I don't think he's going to make it in the NFL. I don't know.
So where are you looking here? You want to look at a specific position? They can show you what you've taken. So far you've taken a safety, a corner, an edge, an offensive tackle, a QB, and a safety. So you've done, basically you haven't done any wide receivers or running backs yet.
Yeah, what's tight end?
Take Mitchell. Oh, Mitchell Evans. Do you find that a little early for your guy in Notre Dame?
I like the way he blocks.
You want him?
Yeah, I got to take a Notre Dame.
Better than Smythe.
Well,
and he was a Notre Dame guy. Oh, slow. He's got to be a good blocker.
All right, 224. Legally still there, but you already took a tight end. Ingram's Dawkins is there. Rutgers there. Kanya's there.
I'm going to take offensive line here. I'm taking Cooper.
Wow. So Lance Zierlein compared the tight end of Notre Dame and compared him to Will Dissly.
Yeah, my buddy's still there. Hawks is still there.
That's actually a pretty good comparison.
Hawks is still there. Rourke is there. Batty's there. Fredona's there. Lacey's there. Horner's there. Trevor Etienne is there. If you haven't taken a running back yet.
Jimmy Horn Jr.
Yeah, what's the top running back?
I think it must be.
Is it Etienne?
I think it's Etienne, but yeah, it's Etienne.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan.
Merritt, Jackson. Yeah, there's not much.
What? How about OT? Or
Crenshaw, Dixon, Looking, Caleb Roberts. You're talking about like more of a. You're talking more. Let's see, guard.
yeah, what's guard?
Trust is a little offensive center. Simpkins. A lot of these guys are.
Yeah.
There's not much there on the defensive side. Let's see, people early. Dawkins is still there. Stackhouse is still there. Batty's still there. Martin is still there. Corner, you already took off a Waxter. Safeties, Trader. So you're really looking at really throwing a dart at a board for the next.
Yeah, I haven't
Hawes is
taken.
still there. You want to take another tight end? Jackson's still there. Hawes is still there.
No, I can't do that. Take the DT from Georgia.
Yeah.
He's a good
Your
program.
last compensatory pick. You could take Stackhouse like Brett did. Take Woodson, Truss. Ron Lane the third. That's another safety. There's Ja'Cory Brooks from Louisville. So Conksy Mary from. It's up to you. You could have your.
Yeah,
who was that guy we took from Cincinnati that never played for us a couple of years ago? In the 7th round. What was that guy's name? That never played for us. He sat on the practice squad for 2 years, then we cut him. Here's his name.
From college in Cincinnati?
Yeah, remember he was the Cincinnati running back. And we took him in the 7th.
Shoot.
In the 23 draft, I think.
Jared Dokes.
Jared Dokes. There we go.
Yep.
Yeah, scroll up. I'm probably going to take another Georgia player.
I thought he could have been a good player.
Yeah, I'm going to take Stackhouse too. I'm going to double up there.
Yeah, perfect. So this is your draft: Starks, Amos, Kennard, Grant, Ewers, Malachi Moore, Evans, Cooper, Dawkins, Stackhouse. So let me ask you something. What are you doing at running back, and what the heck are you doing at wide receiver? So you didn't touch one premier position in the draft. What do you do?
Well, I honestly don't like the wide receivers in this draft.
He got an edge rusher.
All right, I took an edge, and I got three or four DBs. Yeah, woo-hoo.
Yeah, safety end up being with Malachi. He could definitely be a playmaker kind of thing. So,
yeah, I don't like the skill positions in this draft. I don't like the wide receivers. I'm not a big fan of the running backs. I think I actually think there's value on third day picks at some quarterback. I think there are guys who can play in this league and at least be a backup. So I wouldn't shy away from that. But I just don't like the skill in this draft. My guy, if everything fell the way I'd want to, I want Johnson and cornerback at 13. That's my pick.
There's 3 guys.
God, I hope somebody moves up and overdrafts, an offensive lineman or defensive tackle or something like that to cause him to slide down a couple. And if I'm Greer, I'd even package to go up to maybe 9 or 10 to grab him.
I'll tell you the other corner I like a lot is Isaiah Thomas from Florida State.
Yeah.
I think he might be a 2nd round pick, but I'd be all over that.
Next time, Anthony, when you do another show in a week or 2, you'll do that. Just I know Brett has to go in a little bit, and so do I. We're already an hour and 40 minutes in. Let me ask you one last question before we call it a night, and we can probably be back next week if both of you are available. Is there any draft concept? Is there anything that you can do in the draft, the Dolphins, that can make them better right away? That you would basically say that they can hit a home run in this draft based on the skill set of the draft. You're saying there's not a lot of skill players that you believe will allow them to be a better team this year. Like, is there a way for them to come out of this draft and be a much better team than they were last year? Is there any chance of that? Let's say Hill's not there. With Hill or without there, can they come out of this draft with a mindset that you both, who are very even keel on the team and obviously don't have a lot of faith in what the current staff is doing, can they become a better team this year with 10 picks in this draft?
I will say yes, but it's not what you think. All right. I think the Dolphins could have a top 5 defense if they get 2 really good players in this draft in DB. If they got Will Johnson to play opposite Ramsey, and they got, well, my target in the second round would be the safety from Notre Dame.
Xavier Watts.
Yes. And if those 2 guys could start immediately, I think the defense could be really good with Phillips, Chop, and Chubb coming back with Sealer. They actually are. I'm not that worried at linebacker for the first time in since I've been 25. All right. I mean, so maybe the last 30 years or, since it's Zach Thomas, for Christ's sake.
Well, I would say since like Dansby and Burnett.
but I think if they got 2 quality DBs that played right away, this defense could elevate to top 5, top 7.
Well, they're a top 10 defense as crappy as they looked last year, right? And the reason why we're saying 2 deep guys is if you look at the stars on that defense last year for the Eagles, what were they? They had a rookie safety and they had a rookie corner.
Yeah, and that was Greer's bread and butter. What happened to that? So
at least he committed to Byron Jones. But by the way, let me ask you guys, what are your thoughts before we go? The last question: when you hear Javon Holland and you hear Xavier Howard, who did something on the dive bar, like they liked Flores. Holland and Howard they had high praise for Flores. High praise for Flores.
I think, look, I'm an old coach. I think players like discipline. All right. I mean, yeah, I can't make it a blanket statement and say all players do, because they don't. But I think the good players that really appreciate their craft, they want discipline. And there's too many players on the current Dolphins team that don't want discipline.
Brett, I had a question. Maybe it's a learning moment for me. I noticed that they had a video of Bill Belichick in North Carolina at practice. Mm-hmm. And in order for the players to not grab on, they were, when you box, you have when people are boxing, they have the mitts.
Yep.
I've never seen that before at practice. Have you guys
Belichick's done that a lot.
Have you ever done that at your practice? Have you ever seen that? I've never seen the Dolphins ever do that. We take so many holding calls. That'd be good for Liam Eichenberg, maybe.
But it's like back in the day, they used to have to block like this. Like you couldn't.
That's a smart thing to do, eh?
And so now it's like you're going to have to learn how to use your hands without gripping and grabbing, and it's just to kind of teach you to use
smart.
Your hands.
I love it.
That's something that they don't teach enough. I actually think who else does that? There's another coach who does that for pass blocking drills.
So I went to an O-line camp, all right, and I got to work with the offensive line coach for the Cincinnati Bengals, all right, go through drills and things like that. I didn't meet him, but I watched during that session. We watched a lot of Anthony Munoz, all right. Who wouldn't want to watch? He's really good, right?
Yeah.
And they don't teach this anymore, all right? But he used to use his fist. He used to block using his fist quite a bit. And instead of punching like this, he would punch like this. And
heavy hands that way too.
Heavy hands. And you don't see guys get taped up like they used to and stuff like that. So I mean, yeah, this is 30 years ago now, but yeah, we used to practice like this with our team.
I love it.
What's wrong with that?
Huh?
I mean, there's honestly, I feel like I have more
push.
But I have more like a little literal punch. But I mean, obviously, if you have to get hands on after that, then you have to go like this. But if you're just hitting and passing off, but hell, fists work great. Bam, hit that chest. Even though you got that chest plate, you feel that.
Hey, wait a second. If Liam Eichenberg, who still denies that he did it, if he would have been fist up, he wouldn't have poked Zach Sealer in the eye, right? Had he been fist up, he wouldn't have poked him in the eye. If
It's
those
true.
offensive linemen during practice would have done this, they wouldn't have poked him in the eye.
It's true.
And we would have won. By the way, we may have won that Buffalo game. And we may have won that Buffalo game.
But penalties are a whole other conversation, a whole other show.
But by the way, guys, you know what's crazy? Do you know in Cincinnati, they have star wide receivers. They have an incredible quarterback. You know what they don't have a very good, you know what they're not very good at? Offensive line. And they went to a Super Bowl with Isaiah Prince as their right tackle. Yes, he screwed up in the last play. But remember Isaiah Prince, Miami Dolphin fans? He still got them to the Super Bowl.
And Dolphin fans are saying, oh, yeah, but they had that really good running back. Oh, wait, they had a good running back with a good weapons, a good quarterback, and the offensive line still didn't get in the way.
Exactly.
Huh? I'm just saying.
Kind of my last point on this, right? You can't be great everywhere.
No.
Okay. So to win in today's NFL, you got to be okay in certain positions and you got to be great in other positions. Right now, you can afford to be okay on the offensive line, but man, you better be great outside. You better be really, really talented in pass catching, quarterback, and even running back. You got to have a dual threat running back. If you don't have those guys, it's really hard to win in this league.
Yeah.
To that point, this be my final point on that. What Greg is saying, and I'm going to touch on that because if you need offensive line, then you don't have great quarterback play, receiver play, or running back play.
Nope. Yeah. And my last point is the Cincinnati Bengals have the highest paid wide receiver core. We had that for a little while. The only difference is they have a quarterback who can throw the football. We'll continue this next week. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Check out kingswear.com with all the great stuff. They have a show on our network, the Kingswear Podcast. They do a great job. Once we're done here, you can jump on the East 10th Street Boys, where I'm sure they're talking about milk and cookies. Who knows what they're talking about? Most of the stuff is nonsense. If you want actual education, you can be here. Guys, you'll see us a lot more. Brett's committed to this. We have the draft coming up. We're going to be, for sure, you'll see us probably next week, because the week after that, we'll be on draft coverage. We'll be on all night. We're going to be doing 3 rounds. All 3 days of the draft, in and out. We're going to have a great time there. Probably when the Dolphins make their pick, we're all going to jump on and just really give our opinion on what they are, because so far the last couple of years, Chop Robinson was a good pick last year. A lot of people were not happy with that pick. In the end, it turned out to be a decent pick because Phillips and Chubb were not there. So you got to give kudos to that on that end.
I'm still pissed because the first was taking the pick before.
Yeah, and by the way, people were freaking out that they didn't take Graham Barton or Jackson Powers Johnson. I'm telling you, if you didn't have Chop this year, you would have won 1 or 2 less games if you would have had Jackson Powers Johnson or Graham Barton. I'm sorry.
I wanted Brian Thomas to finally have a dog receiver or whatever.
And next week,
Jared Verse. Like, look at, by the way, before we go, the Rams literally traded all their picks. They tore it down. They're back already. Look at that defense. Holy cramola.
Yeah.
Holy cramola.
But next week's another big week in the NFL, because they'll start announcing the international games. And we know Miami's going to play in Spain. We should have that date next week.
Yeah, for sure. We'll do that. For sure. We're going to meet again next week. Honestly, I'm so wanting to go to Spain. I'd love to go there. They're playing a decent team. Like, one of my buddies, my best friend, is a huge Buccaneers fan. If they could bring that game there, him and I would be on a plane tomorrow. But no, honestly, that'd be amazing. Guys, don't forget to like and subscribe. We appreciate you. We'll be back on the regular the next couple of weeks. You'll be sick of us in a couple of weeks, because we're going to give you the reality. Trust me. I'll put it to you this way. You want to see us smiling on draft night on the first pick? It better be, I don't care what it is. It better be a corner. It better be a safety. It better be an edge. It better be a wide receiver. It better be a running back. If it's an offensive lineman or a defensive tackle, God help us, Miami Dolphins fans. I have it over under 6 wins. We'll be lucky if we get to 5.
I'm here for the meltdowns of us taking a corner over offensive lineman, and that's it for me.
Three-quarters of the people in our draft coverage will freak out over that. So
I'm here for the meltdowns.
And by the way,
stir it up.
By the way, can you imagine if Les Snead was our general manager over Chris Greer? Oh my God, Oh, I'd do that in a heartbeat. Anyways, guys, don't forget to like and subscribe. And as always, fins up, everybody.
Fins
Take
up.
care, guys.
Or down this year, whatever.